first edition of 2022. Welcome to 2022. My name is Simapolo, and the dialogue comes every Saturday morning. We look at issues that made headline through the week, and we also put them into context, those matters of national importance. Welcome once again. Welcome to the new year. And as usual, we need to look back at 2021, a year that came with several key events and happenings. We had the general elections of 2021 and many other events. And the general elections in particular brought in a new government, with NRM retaining the leadership of government, but again in a turn of events, the National Unity Platform emerged as the leading opposition party in Parliament, and that is why we need to look back at the works of the opposition, both in Parliament and outside Parliament, and try to evaluate their performance, and again look at what they probably need to do in this year, in the new year 2022. Like I said, my name is Simapolo. Welcome once again. We have been joined by the Honorable Leader of Opposition in Parliament, Honorable Mathias Mpuuga, and he is also the Member of Parliament representing Nyendo Mukungwe in the 11th Parliament. Welcome to the dialogue, and Happy New Year, Honorable Mpuuga.
Thank you, Mr. Apollo, and the viewers. I must wish the viewers a Happy New Year, and thank you for keeping with us in the old year. You've been such an amazing people, an amazing viewership, and I must thank you, Salt Media, for highlighting not just the plight of the opposition, but being available at all times to share with your viewers, with your listeners, how we're trying to shape this country as change-seeking forces. And we do not take your input in our endeavors lightly. I want to thank you most sincerely for being one of the key media houses that have shaped this country over the last couple of months, and especially a most difficult 2021, in which we had a very difficult, very divisive, violent national election. But we thank you for the coverage you afforded the country to share into what happened.
Good. Right Honorable Mathias Mpuuga, it's again a privilege to host you. Looking back at 2021, it's almost difficult to wrap up the whole year in 1 hour. But let me pick your thought on generally what you think 2021 was on the side of politics. How did it go?
Definitely the more outstanding event of 2021 was the election that I described as most violent in our political history, most divisive, and eventually a year that ushered in NUP as a new front, as a party of choice for citizens. And we cannot take for granted the fact that it was a breakthrough year for our younger party, as a party that citizens voted. I have no doubt citizens voted us last year. The fact that we did not take power does not explain the fact that we never voted. For me, it was a remarkable year. It will go down the annals of our history as one that shaped in no small proportions the history of this country. Forget about the outcome of the divisive, violent election, but I can attest to the fact that it's a time that we shall live to remember. The writers of history will record it as having been momentous. Yeah.
I don't want to say that it is a whole new experience because you have been in Parliament for some years.
Yeah.
But it's your first time being in the office of the Leader of Opposition. Briefly, how's that experience? Share with us that experience in just 6 months, the 6 months you have been in office.
Invariably, it's been a time to learn and unlearn. Because as the leader of the opposition, you are the alternative prime minister. You shape opinion, you shape views, you shape laws, you shape policy. But that is as good as how you are able to mobilize your side, move with it, work with it, solicit their support and move with them, as well as mobilizing the people you disagree with on the ruling party to be able to shape a number of issues in the country. So it's been quite informative, interesting. I have learned a lot, I have unlearned a lot, and I have made my mark and my contribution. I have been able to shape the issues that we are going to be following as the opposition. And I think when the country writes our history, they will mark me with an underscore of how I was able to utilize this office to shape opinion in this country.
Well, that is another question I wanted to ask you. In the moment you assumed office of the Leader of Opposition, you struck a unique. It seemed like you have a unique agenda, painting and that face of the office of the Leader of Opposition. How far has that gone, and what would you wish to achieve? I mean, give us that picture of what that office you would want it to be.
First of all, it's very important for the country to appreciate the fact that the office I hold is a constitutional office. And therefore, being a constitutional office, it comes with a lot of obligations, a lot of weight, a lot of expectations, and therefore, I must, as of necessity, shape my actions and my demeanor on public expectation. The public expects us to shape the country using the parliamentary platform, and Parliament is about deliberating on policies, discussing and debating bills, motions and statements of the like, and that's what we've been doing. Perhaps the country has been used to a particular way of doing things by the opposition, but we are the opposition in NUP, and we have a duty to do things the way we think they should be done. And that's what I'm trying to do. One, to articulate the policy stand of NUP and the opposition in general on every matter in the country, but also to make the opposition look the real deal as the alternative. That's very important, because we set out to lead this country, and therefore whatever we do, whatever we depict, must mirror the fact that we are also able to lead the country, not just being the opposition. Have that
been absent in the opposition?
I'm not saying it is absent, but I want to sharpen it further to look at the real possibility. And that's what we are trying to do. Not for the fact that it's been lacking, but you can only make yourself better by working every day to improve the way you've been doing things. That's what you're trying to do.
I am of course aware that you lead a minority group in Parliament where there is a dominant party, the National Resistance Movement, and one that is not shy to exert its dominance. We have seen it most of the times. How have you found, I mean, how has that played out? How have you managed to work out under such an environment?
Certainly it's a tough ask to try and lead the opposition in an environment where the opposition is not appreciated. So you try to shape the narrative of leading a minority by making that minority look qualitative. And that's, for me, shapes my approach. The numbers at some stage do not matter, but the quality of what is presented matters. And I am more inclined to look at the quality of our output and pay less attention to the numbers, because more often than not, the quality of output is capable of shaping opinion as opposed to the numbers. And where the issues for discussion require a particular quality, we're trying to build that quality to bear on the House, no matter the numbers. So the numbers, yes, are very important, and I would love to have the numbers that would change whatever I want to change. But now that I do not have the numbers, I will not manufacture them. I will zero, and I have zeroed on the quality of my output and the output of my team.
How is it, or how is it tedious to marshal that dominance of the NRM in that parliament?
Yeah, it is tedious, but I'll tell you that the NRM MPs are not robots.
Okay.
So many of them are very, very serious leaders in this country, and more often than not, they have paid a lot of attention to what we do and say, and they have even made inputs to really support our point of view. So we do not take them for granted. And if anybody wants to take them for granted for their numbers, it will be a fatal mistake. So we are alive to the fact that a number of them are able to listen and are able to discern. And that, for me, is more motivating in the way we do work. It's even an invitation for us to up our game, aware that a number of them can listen and are not as of necessity inclined to toe the majority line.
At times that begs for persuasion and concessions, and in our political environment, if you are the opposition and you concede on some issues, you looked at as a moral, as a, how is it as a leader of opposition? How do you find that?
Yeah, it does happen quite often that issues will arise over which you have to compromise. But you see, compromising does not mean being bought. You'll be looked at as bought if you're not offering leadership. And for me, offering leadership is actually making it properly understood that this is your position on a matter. Whether that position is a loser's position or winner's position doesn't matter. But as long as there's a clarity of intention and a clarity of issues for which you either agree or make a complete departure. And if you are preoccupied with the fact that you'll be misconstrued, then you'll have elected to do nothing, to be a nothing doer. And fortunately for me, I am not in a position where I fail to make a decision. I don't have that space. I must, as of a matter of necessity and a matter of leadership, be able to take a decision on every matter for which I have to offer leadership, controversial or not. Whether it will be misunderstood or properly understood or deliberately misunderstood is a matter that will arise at any one time. But the call of duty for me is to lead my team to take a decision on every matter. And that's what I set out to do on a daily basis.
You do not lead the NUP members only in Parliament. You are now the leader of opposition that includes even members of other opposition political parties. Talk about the cohesion within the members of the opposition, which I think is key to the success of, towards your mandate. How is it? Is it an issue? Is it a challenge? How have you found it actually in these 6 months?
The platform I lead has 6 opposition parties, to be particular. NUP, the leading party, FDC, DP, UPC, JEMA, and the PPP. So those are different 6 policy platforms. My job is to galvanize those different platforms into a single voice. While we consider any matter as the opposition, we ordinarily make sure that we generate consensus, which is why I have a shadow cabinet. The shadow cabinet is a platform, is a melting pot of all these ideological orientations, and we are able to generate a consensus.
Has it been possible?
We have succeeded. Almost 99% on a number of issues. Wherever you see me on the floor articulating a particular policy position, be sure that we have had a consensus as the opposition. So we generate statements over which we have considered all the options and then move to the center to articulate what we believe should be the policy stand of the opposition in the circumstances on a number of issues: health, education, human rights, governance, corruption. So we have, using that platform of the shadow cabinet, been able to seek the opinions of the different political platforms, which we articulate through my office.
Well, a very recent example is the meetings of the IPOD. You did not reach a consensus, and your party, National Unity Platform, opted out of the IPOD, and a meeting, actually a recent meeting that was scheduled to happen, I think yesterday, the other day, it didn't happen, partly because you had not agreed. Isn't that a setback in one way or another?
First of all, I think we are discussing two different matters. Initially, IPOD is not a parliamentary platform.
But it's for parties that have members in parliament.
Yeah, let me state it. IPOD is not a parliamentary platform. Secondly, it has no legal basis for anybody to be bound. So NUP keeping away does not in any way constitute any violation of any law of the land. It is a meeting of people that have agreed to meet for the sake of meeting, which is why none of the things they discuss is binding on anyone. Okay? And it's the reason why we have advised as NUP that the only platform that can make anybody bound is the National Consultative Forum. And that's what we have advised. As to whether IPOD did not sit yesterday because of NUP's absence, I am not aware. But what I know is that it never sat yesterday because nobody takes it seriously, including the convener.
Won't it dent the cohesion we are talking about? Because looks like all the other parties involved are in support of that platform.
But fortunately, the same parties there are also complaining that there is a talking shop. So who are we to really join them in the talking shop? They are already complaining that that is a forum of nothing doers. So we are not about to. By the way, it's not that we never want to speak to anyone, but to want to engage seriously. We never want to perform rituals. It's not our space to engage in ritualistic things. And we even gave conditions, very, very potent conditions, on joining IPOD. Namely, that platform must articulate clearly, with clarity, the manner of implementing the issues discussed. Secondly, a condition that the ruling party stops witch hunting its opponents and release all political prisoners. Thirdly, that the National Consultative Forum is empowered as a legitimate platform for political dialogue in the country. Those and more conditions have not yet been met, and therefore do not find it really as a matter of obligation for us to attend to a forum that does not have a framework for implementing whatever they discuss there.
Well, it is the dialogue, and my name is Simapolo. And we have the Honorable Leader of Opposition in Parliament, Honorable Mathias Mpuuga. We are looking at the year 2021, the year that shaped the politics of this country. Hopefully, it will be 5 now 4 years until the new dispensation gets another test, and we go into another election, and we are looking at what the opposition has achieved in the first year and probably what they intend to achieve in the coming years. That is why we have Honorable Mathias Mpuuga on the dialogue this morning. Honorable, let's look at the achievements probably in these few months you've been in office. What do you think are those achievements you've registered in these few months?
You know, politics does not afford you a lot of time and space to act on your duties and public expectations. But I'm a firm believer in organization. And what we've been doing over the last couple of months, to be specific 6 months, is to organize the opposition. To organize the opposition to have a stand on a number of issues, a policy stand, and to organize the opposition to be able to shape debate in the parliament, shape issues, shape bills that we've been doing, and which is why we outed an opposition legislative agenda. That was a key milestone because it articulates our policy position, our position on a number of issues. And because we were able to oust an agenda, if you followed this, so many statements, actually unprecedented number of policy statements we have issued on the floor. I must state, the statements we have made in the last 6 months have not been made by any oppositional leadership since multi-party was restored.
Really?
You probably need to go and look at the Hansard. Statements on health, on education, on governance, on human rights. We responded to the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. We outed our assessment of fiscal performance, half-year performance. We have made several policy statements. These policy statements constitute our views, our agenda, and the status quo, including the way forward. On every one that we have issued, we have not simply made an empty statement on the floor. And this for me has been very, very key, because then my members, my ministers can now, based on these statements, to begin generating motions and bills in the coming month. Okay. Because Parliament debates or works through statements, motions, bills, and petitions and the nature. So we are trying to shape the workings of the House using those platforms. For me, they have been the major achievements, because now nobody can question whether the opposition has a sense of direction. That question has since been answered.
Okay. I wanted to ask, only that it may still be very early to ask, if those statements and the alternative policy proposals you've tabled actually have influenced policy in any way, is it still early? Or you can say we did this, for instance, the laws that have, the bills that have been passed, like the NSSF bill, like other bills on the oil pipeline and what. Can you point out and say, well, it was this one where we really made our point and we influenced policy? I don't know if you can.
Apple, I'm sure you follow Parliament. You probably know that we have issued very formidable minority reports that have shaped debate on bills and other government programs. We have been, make no mistake, we shaped the ECOP bill by virtue of our minority report that compelled the presiding officer, the Speaker, to ask us to retreat. And the government had to climb down its high horse to accommodate our views. We shaped the amendment of the Public Finance Management Act because we had an alternative. The House is considering the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. We provided a very formidable alternative, and it has formed the major discussion in the Finance Committee of Parliament. We have issued our alternatives on health. The government is adopting them without recognizing that they are from us. We outed our views on education, the school reopening under COVID. The government, without recognizing that these views were from the opposition, are implementing them. You probably need to follow as a media person these statements we have made and eventually how they have shaped the views of government on a number of areas. I am a very proud leader of this team because we have not come off as empty on any of the programs so presented, and therefore we have immensely shaped the legislative agenda in the House. Yeah.
Well, one thing I remember is about the key arguments. I think we can talk about the oil agreements and what. And when the leadership of Parliament said, now you can go to the library, you can read them, but you cannot take them out. I think that was another big achievement.
Of course, we compel them to table them because they were working in the dark, and we insisted that before the bill is considered, that must be surrendered. And we had the support of both sides of the House. It's just about being able to know what needs to be done. The tradition has been that for every matter on the floor of the House, there must be a winner and a loser. And I don't think that should be. That has
been the practice.
That should not be the case when we are legislating for the country. Some of the issues that come before us to consider as legislators do not bear winners and losers. Eventually, if you fail to generate a momentum that brings you to the center, the country loses. So I have an obligation to be able to sieve matters that are bipartisan and decipher them from those that are partisan. Yeah.
Well, let's look at another important issue, Honorable. The issue of debate in Parliament. I remember from the onset of this 11th Parliament, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker have been emphasizing debating with facts and backed with research, information and data. And the majority of your members, I don't know if it's the right word, first timers in Parliament. I don't know how you have worked to shape and sharpen them and how they have performed so far in that line. You are the leader. You can do some evaluation and make a report.
No, I am proud of my team. I have so many young people, both in parliamentary experience and in the reality of their age. But the beauty is that these are very sharp young people. I have undertaken the basic orientation for them. I have not had occasion or opportunity to have deeper orientation for them. Something I would have loved to do and I intend to do in the coming months. I must state clearly that the members are still forming and shaping, but so far so good, because at least every one of my members is able to rise on the floor and coherently debate a matter. Where there is no depth on the matters debated is understandable, but at least there is there's a small team that is shaping, and given the next couple of months, they should be able to come good and further shape debate as to whether members will be able to debate factually as the Speaker so desires. That's a matter that is personal. What is important for us is, as leaders in the House, is to guide members on the procedures of the House and how to present their issues. I think that far we have succeeded, and that gives me a bit of warmth that my members will be able to cope with the rigors of the House.
Any deliberate move, any deliberate plan to further sharpen your members? I don't know. Going forward, what?
It is my routine, and I intend to further do that. My office is working on a program that probably will last about 4 or 5 months of evolving policy clusters in the opposition, so that for every policy cluster, members are properly oriented on the attendant laws in that cluster. If it's a cluster on the economy, members will be taken through all the laws relating to the economy, taxation, borrowing, the policies and all that. If it's about education, then I'll have a team of members that are inclined on a particular sector, and we give them all the necessary orientation they desire. It's about health. I'll build a team of competent debaters on health, and I've called those policy clusters that we intend to create in the coming weeks and months, and offer members more potent and more empowering orientation. It does help, and when it comes to debate, as the whip of the opposition, you are even further helped, that you are even able to tell the speaker that so and so will speak on this subject, because those members have been purposively oriented to speak on that subject.
Well, and going forward, what are those immediate policies that you think should be handled? I mean, from your side, though I know that business comes from the executive, but you, as an alternative government, you must have that on your agenda. What spending? What do you think must be handled in this year and with priority?
No, it's not true that we can't generate business. The rules are such that priority is given to government business, but the same rules provide for space for us to also generate our own business, and that we shall inevitably do. We are generating consensus through the shadow cabinet in the coming weeks, and we shall be able to out the issues for which we are going to be shaping opinion on the floor, including the priority of bills we want to consider. What we are more inclined on presenting bills relating to governance, like I said, on human rights, on elections. We want to have an early debate on the electoral laws, that we are able to shape the attendant amendments and enable the country to generate a consensus on a number of issues before the next round of election, so that the election does not become a ritual in this country. So we have lined a number of bills that for which we are still generating consensus, including shaping and influencing government-owned bills, including the upcoming mining amendment to the mining laws, because the fishing laws, because the current legal regime does not empower communities, and therefore we are waiting for the bills as presented that we can shape them so that the citizens, the locals, are not pushed out of the economy by greedy businessmen using the laws that are going to be tabled by government.
Now, Honorable, the 10th Parliament was put on a big test, I think in 2017, when the Cohesion, the enactment of lifting the age limit came to Parliament, and we saw emotions, and even in the Chamber of Parliament, we saw what happened. And from the pending business coming in from government, we anticipate another scenario. We anticipate another contentious issue about land law amendment in the land law. And from your demeanor, you look more of a peacemaker. a person who seeks dialogue, and I don't know how you envisage such a situation. Because
Apollo, these laws we make are not about us as individuals. They are about the country. So whereas we can visit emotions on them, it is more rewarding to visit sense and knowledge on them than emotions, which is why I normally divest of my time in understanding the rationale for everything before Parliament. And therefore, it's very difficult to get me into emotions, but it's easy to get me into a deeper debate to properly understand what is playing on the floor of Parliament. The land legislations are emotive by their nature, because land is the only asset for which citizens have full powers, and the Constitution guaranteed that. The shape in which the proposals will come will inform our demeanor. Okay? So we are not excitable, and I'm not excitable personally, but I give time to reason. So the way the shape of these bills will come and the proposals therein will determine our reaction and the reaction of my team.
We have already picked some few ideas on how probably those proposals would be. Milo, scrapping Milo land and tenure, land tenure and all other issues.
It is easier said. I am waiting to hear the presentation and the rationale for scrapping Milo. That will inform my reaction. Because I have heard people speak about these in turns, but I've not had anybody present any depth and rationale. So I am more inclined to respond to the issues presented, and especially the justification, than simply responding to emotions. I have articulated my position on land before, and I don't think the problem is with Mile. The problem is with the eternal land grabbers. The problem is with the inordinate delays in resolving land conflicts. The problems lie with the courts. The problem lies with the police and other paramilitary groups that are helping land grabbers. These cannot be sorted by simply removing Mairo. It is an attempt to try and hold the sword the wrong way. And whoever is promising citizens that by removing Mairo they would have solved the land problem are actually misleading the public. But we are waiting with their rationale and presentation. They're just causing unnecessary excitement. They know the problem. It's the land grabbers that are grabbed, especially the 9,000 square miles in Uganda, that want to remove the word mile. Yeah.
So how are you prepared? Have you started engaging your members on this particular issue? Because we think it may be one of those businesses that...
No, we haven't started engaging them, but we have started the process of shaping the views on paper, which we shall share in due course. Yeah.
Okay, your view and your opinion on the Mobilising Commission. It's one commission that that excited people, especially on matters of land, and recommendations were tabled in a report to the head of state. I don't know what you think about that commission. And
I don't have an opinion on the commission because I've not seen their report.
Okay.
Okay. All I can say is that we demand to see their report because the commission was funded by the taxpayer. It was not a private expedition by Mr. Museveni. So Mrs. Bamagemeneyile and her team owe the public that report. It was not a private adventure by Mr. Museveni using personal resources. So for anybody to refer to it without presenting the report is an attempt to mislead the public, and nobody should make a reference to it because it's non-existent. There's no report.
But it's now almost a year after it was. Which
is why I'm saying
the commission wound up its work, and
you wind up work with a report. Yeah. So without a report publicly presented, there's no report. It was another hoax.
You said a hoax?
Yeah. So if you consume taxpayers' money and you make no report, then you probably duped the public that you are working. Either she has to release the report. I know that she was appointed, but she was appointed under the Commissions of Inquiry Act, which requires them to release the report publicly. It was not a private investigation. No. So we need that report.
Isn't it part of your mandate to demand for such a report?
We have demanded for it. It has not come through. So that's why we are saying if it's not available, there should be no reference to it.
Let's go to the issue of human rights, Honorable. It's another issue that came out in the year 2021. Well, as we wound up the year 2021, there were very serious issues around human rights. Even the sanctions by the US and other donor groups on top officials in government. Are we making a headway in putting in place an environment that respects human rights in this country?
That beautiful question should have been presented to the abusers, whether they have learned any lessons. Because it's the same group, same people, same objective that have been at the center of abusing the rights of citizens, civic, political, land rights. Same abusers, same objectives, to try and cow the public into submitting to their illegal rule. Whether they have learned anything from the sanctions of their peers is another matter. Our duty as the opposition who speak for those whose rights have been trampled upon is to continue pushing, to highlight these abuses, to bring them to the public arena for debate, and that we have ably done. We have presented names of citizens that have disappeared, that have not been produced in a court for more than a year. And we continue to demand for the respect of their rights. That can't stop, that we shall continue demanding.
Are you appreciative of those communities, international communities that are imposing sanctions? Or in any way, are the sanctions making any impact anyway? Because the purported perpetrators are actually always coming out to dismiss the sanctions are not as witch hunt, and even not so impactful. That, for instance, the travel sanctions, they say we don't even intend to go there, and I don't know what you can say about that.
Yeah, sanctions are part of international peremptory norms in trying to enforce international discipline on the respect of rights. Whether the culprits do not feel the impact is not the issue. The issue is that there is recognition international of the fact that there are violations taking place and that the individuals behind them are known. That, for me, the fact that the culprits are responding the way they are doing means that actually they are feeling it. And we should use those sanctions as citizens to further alienate, to further depict those fellows as pariahs, that the community of decent humans actually disregards their presence, that the community of people that have a respect for rights regards those people as lepers in the community. Yeah.
Some politicians have blamed the population and coming out to say that we have a population that is not conscious, that does not care whether things are going wrong. I don't know what your opinion is about the Ugandan population in pushing for a better political environment in this country.
Well, the population can only react to their capacity and level of conviction and level of mobilization and preparedness. whatever the population has not been able to do, probably they have not been mobilized to do it. Me, I'm very trusting of the masses. Once they have elected to do something, they will do it. I am sure in the last election, the Ugandans, the same population voted out Mr. Museveni. As to whether he insisted on staying on with a gun is a different matter. So I can't join the blame game of citizens. The citizens can only be mobilized to do what they're able to do. And the leaders should arise to the facts that they need to do more.
I think that is the question I'll ask you as we go into another segment, our last segment, actually, final segment, whether you, the opposition, and other stakeholders have mobilized well the population to be that conscious and to push for a better political environment. We are on Sol TV. The program is The Dialogue. We have the Honorable Leader of Opposition in Parliament, Honorable Mathias Mpuuga. We are asking him about what probably has been achieved in the year 2020. We are in the new year 2022. Hopefully it's time to look back at what we have achieved, what is still pending, and what we need to harness as we move forward. My name is Apollo. Let's go for a short break. When we return, it's the final segment of this newest edition of The Dialogue. Let's go to break and we'll be returning shortly. Don't go away. Welcome from the break. The program is The Dialogue. My name is Apollo, and we have the Honorable Mathias Mpuuga, the Honorable Leader of Opposition in Parliament, and the Member of Parliament representing Nyendo Mukungwe in the 11th Parliament. We are looking back at 2021, a year that shaped a big part of the politics of this country in the next now 4 years, and how far we've gone, what we have achieved, what is pending, and what we need to do to look at how we can make our politics better. Honorable, we talked about mobilizing the population towards that good cause of shaping the politics of this country. We were talking about human rights violations as alleged. How far and how best have you worked to mobilize the population? Some people think that when the election period ended, then some of your members, if not all of them, are comfortable now. They do not much care about what is happening outside.
Do you agree with the assessment you've just made that violation of human rights is an allegation?
No, even us journalists have tested the rap.
Yeah, so you do not have to call it an allegation. The violation of rights is a reality. We live with it, and all of us, other than politicians, all of us, religious leaders, cultural leaders, all of us must mobilize each other to really stop this nonsense of some people wielding guns and wielding political power, using that authority to try and tramp on the rights of citizens. It's not the preserve of politicians. So the whole idea of telling politicians to mobilize the people should really stop. Everybody must mobilize the people. The media must speak to this. The media must speak to the people to reject people involved in the violation of human rights. They should not be waiting for politicians. The religious leaders must come out strongly to condemn.
You remind me of Desmond Tutu.
We must come out strongly and castigate and invite the population to reject abusers of rights. This job is not a preserve of politicians. So whether the politicians have done enough or not, it means the country has not done enough collectively. And therefore all of us must act. And this work is not an event. It's not a one-off. We must commit. We must divest time to it. And we must give it the energy that it requires. As to whether some politicians assume the comfort is a personal choice. But the issues around us can never go away. All of us must wake up every day to make sure that we improve our political environment. And this, for me, is a general invitation to everyone. Those who are in their comfort zone, certainly the forces of nature will force them out of their comfort zone and force them to act on their obligations as leaders in the community at every level.
You even have members who are in jail up to now.
That should even be more motivation for everyone. These members, being politicians, belong to the community. They are community leaders. They pray in one church or another, or in one mosque or another. So, which is why all of us must find reason to join in demanding for the respect of their rights, together with the rights of other private citizens.
Well, going forward, Honorable, in this new year, 2022, what do you envisage? Do you envisage any change in the way the perpetrators of these human rights violations handle the whole matter? What do you envisage this time?
No, it's not their choice to stop. It is our obligation to stop them. Okay, because the abusers of these people's rights are desperate political leaders in this country that want to hang on by intimidating citizens, and citizens must reject this intimidation and stop them in their tracks. So all I want to see is a more conscientious public, a public more conscientious, more determined not to accept this kind of larger than life desperate politicians trying to claw back on the civic space and the rights of citizens. It's us to stop them, not them making a choice. Yeah.
And as we wind up, Honorable, let's again look at the political environment, and people have been suggesting dialogue, and we had an attempt on the national dialogue. Do you believe in the national dialogue and the whole concept that we run, I think now 5 years?
You ask me whether I believe in it because you are alive to the fact that we have people who do not believe in it. And that's very unfortunate. Dialogue as a principle should be ingrained in everybody's, method of work, because you can't have everything your way. I believe in a principled dialogue, not in compromises. Okay? Principled dialogue is one that seeks to sort out the issues and be able to break down the public issues, the issues that are of a public nature and those that are personal in nature. What is actually killing this country is a failure to agree on particular issues that shape this country politically, economically, and otherwise, and decipher them from ambitions of individuals. When we attach dialogue to the ambitions of individuals to lead this country for eternity, then we have lost it. So the principal dialogue I'm talking about is one that will be able to decipher our obligations as citizens, our duty as political leaders of this country, and therefore be able to shape a conversation about what is acceptable and not acceptable in the conduct of public affairs.
So do you think we should go back to the drawing board, or we can resurrect and move on with the other concept that we had, led by the Elders Forum and those, the IRCU and others?
The question of the day, why should somebody be forced to have dialogue? Dialogue should not be forced. Dialogue is a matter of common sense. That nobody has capacity to alienate others from the governance of this country. And therefore all of us must be afforded the space to play our role. Any failure to do so will mean a collapse of our political system, collapse of the country, like it is now clear that the country is almost hanging on. It's because the individuals who believe that they have the preserve of knowledge and the sense of direction of the country. So it's not about elders, it's not about what, it's about every citizen. And nobody should assume to appropriate the right to determine what is right and wrong. Yeah.
Going forward, do you think the trajectory the politics of this country is taking, is it for the better, for the worse, or for good?
I'm not a prophet. I wake up every day to make sure that whatever we do is done according to the law. When we do things according to the law, all of us will fit in and everybody will find their space. As long as we digress from the constitutional, from the written laws of the land, as long as the laws of the land are implemented and enforced selectively, it's a recipe for disaster, and all of us will sink, including the perpetrators of the injustice.
Do you see it changing? Do you see anything changing as we
shall
head into a new year?
We shall have to force it to change. We shall have to force it to change. We're not going to beg anybody to be good. There's no space for begging anyone to act seriously about this country. There's no space to beg anyone to stop abusing people's rights. They will simply be stopped. And that's what I believe in. Nobody should be beseeched. Nobody is doing this country a favor in doing things right. You either do things right and survive with the entire country, get things done wrongly, you will perish and the country will prevail.
It has been happening for very many years. It's not unique.
We are not unique. Wherever individuals have appropriated power and abused rights of citizens, they collapse and the countries remain. You've seen it in Libya, you've seen it in Egypt, you've seen it in Iraq, you've seen it in other places. It is fools who never learn from these kind of episodes throughout human history. Those who learn and seek to be redeemed, they not only shape their countries, they shape history, and they are remembered nostalgically as having learned from their mistakes and shaped destiny.
Do you see this government learning anything?
Yeah, I'm not their teacher, it's their business to learn. If they fail to learn, they remain the same class. The country will remain. If you sit the exams and fail and others pass, they are promoted and you remain the class.
Right, Honorable, it is a pleasure. It is and a privilege hosting you. Your concluding remarks and your message as we start off the year 2022.
First of all, thanking Salt Media for choosing to delve into this arena of attempting to shape public opinion and affording us an opportunity to share with the country our sentiments and our views. Secondly, thanking citizens that have held us to account throughout the year and continue to follow and shape the way we plan, think for this country. Thirdly, thanking the people of Mukungu in Masaka City for making me their leader and giving me the platform to be able to make my contribution in shaping the present and the future of this country. Lastly, wishing citizens that seek to see a better Uganda, a year full of action, a year full of determination, not to allow to be haunted by our bad history, not to be haunted by failure to do the kind of things we are capable of doing, to make sure that we do them to the best of our knowledge and capacity.
Well, thank you so much, dear viewers. Thank you so much for your time watching us all this full hour, and my appreciation again goes to the Honorable Leader of Opposition in Parliament, Honorable Mathias Mpuuga. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And all you're doing to shape the policy in Parliament and outside Parliament. Well, our viewers, the dialogue is coming again next week. My name is Sima Polo. Let's keep watch over the issues and events as they're happening. But again, we have an obligation as citizens at times to step up and do what is in our mandate to shape the politics of this country. My name is Sima Polo. I say until next time, Happy New Year once again.